Hey teachers, this is Mr. Willis, and I want to show you a couple of things in Google Forms, specifically with creating quizzes and just some new features that maybe you weren't aware that we have now that you might find useful. So the way I'm going to do this is actually through Google Classroom, because I think it makes it kind of easy just to distribute this out to students. And so I've gone to Google Classroom, I'm signed in, and then you'll just need to click on one of your classes. I'm going to choose this one so I can actually show you my daughter's view as a student after I create an assignment for her here. And then I always advise you go to classwork. Is the best place once you're in the class to actually create new stuff, to keep things organized. And a little tip here, I very strongly always urge students as soon as they get to classroom to go straight to the classwork tab, because that's where we have everything organized. So anyway, on this tab here, I'm going to hit my create button. And you'll see there's two different kinds of assignments. There's a normal assignment and a quiz assignment. I'm going to click quiz assignment because it creates a blank quiz in Google Forms that I just have to kind of fill in, and it's ready to go. Now, let's say you've already made a quiz up in Google Forms or any other form, survey, whatever it may be. You could just make a normal assignment and then use the add button. You'll see there's add, and you can go to your Google Drive and just pick a quiz that way or a form that way, but I'm doing this one since it's already in there. One other thing I want you to see on this page, we now have this button that says locked mode on Chromebooks. This could be very useful if you're using this at school where the students are all logging in with some of our Chromebooks, the ones that are managed through GCMS. And if you have this turned on, then when they take the quiz, it prevents any other tabs from opening up. It puts the quiz in full screen mode so they can't like jump over and Google things on a separate tab. Unless this is a quiz where you want them to be able to Google stuff, which you might do in some cases. But that's an option you have. This does not work if you're wanting kids to do this at home on a device that is their own, that they own. So I'm going to just leave this one blank for now, but thought it important that you know it's there. I'm just going to call this one sample, and you can add instructions there if you want. That's totally up to you. So to actually get the quiz set up, I'm going to click on the link for the quiz, and that's going to open up the quiz kind of in edit mode. This is not where I'm taking the quiz, but where I'm setting up the questions. And we've seen a lot of the some of this stuff I'm not going to spend much time talking on. You know how you can make like multiple choice or check boxes. If you make a multiple choice quiz like who is your favorite teacher? And of course option 1 is Mr. Willis, and you don't really need an option 2 because we got it covered there. You can set an answer key for questions like this. I'll just say anyone. Now everyone's going to check anyone, of course. And if you click on answer key here, you can pick which one's the right answer, and you can set how many points this question is worth. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick thing if you're setting this up as a quiz. I'll go ahead and click done. That one's good to go. Now, another type of question that I think people maybe are less familiar with is one that is actually called file upload, and this could be kind of useful in a number of different cases. Let's say, and by the way, I click file upload, and it kind of gives you a couple little directions here about how make sure that you only share it with people you trust. We're sharing it directly with our students in classroom, so we're good. I'm going to hit continue. And this could be really good for things like, let's say we're doing some sort of a math quiz and you want to actually see students do some of their work, okay? And it's kind of hard to do just typing things in or picking multiple choice stuff. So I'll make a question called show your work. And this way students could actually upload something like a Google drawing or even a photo that they took of something they drew out on paper and turn it into you. So I'm going to check this box right here that says only allow specific file types. This can just kind of help things out. Like in this instance, I'm going to say, all right, you can either give me a Google drawing or an image. There's really no reason to submit audio or one of these others, but if this is what you're specifically wanting for your question, these are all different options you have here. So this would be like a Google Doc, slideshow, Google Sheets, PDFs. You can even have them turn in, video or audio files. You can set the maximum number of files. This one's probably good. And max file size, this could be important, especially if you're doing like videos or something and you're kind of encouraging the kids like, hey, this should not be a 20-minute video. This should be, 30 seconds or something. You can limit the file size so they don't go too crazy. And of course, down here, you still have an answer key. Now, what you do with a question like this, like you can't click on answer key and choose the right answer for them, but you can include like how many points that it's worth, and then adding the feedback is where then you get to type stuff in as you're going through and looking at their submissions, so students kind of know what you thought as you were looking at that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done for that one right now. And so that's kind of how you do the file of, we can make that one required too, but that's how you set up a file upload, which is another good possibility to use in Google Forms. Now, one more thing before we switch over, just so you can see what some of this stuff looks like from the student view, is we have something in Google Forms now called the Add-Ons, okay? So these are extra features that aren't originally like kind of programmed into Google Forms, but you can add them. So the first thing I want to show you is if you go to the three dots, in elementary school we often call this the snowman, right up here in the top right corner, and go to Add-Ons. This is kind of the Google Marketplace where you can find a bunch of different add-ons that are in there, okay? You can search stuff out and add it. For the most part, you should be able to add things individually to yourself, but if you find really good tools you want to share with everybody, let me know and I can install it for everyone in GCMS kind of automatically. Close that one for now. So one example of that we have added for everybody is something called formlimiter. Now that is this puzzle piece up here. You see how it matched the picture we saw down there? So don't confuse these. This is go find new add-ons. This one up here is what are the add-ons we already have installed. So if I click on that, we have one called Form Publisher. This is like to kind of publish the form you make into like a PDF if you want to have like a printable version of it. And this one is called Form Limiter, which has a couple of cool features. So I'm going to click on that. And by the way, if this happens, do you see how like if it only says help, what I found I might have to do is just refresh the page here. And so let me try that again. Click on Add-Ons, go to Form Limiter, and there we go. So now I can click on Set Limit. Okay, when I click Set Limit, there's a couple of different choices. So you could say this form has to close down after a number of responses. Like that can be great if you're doing maybe a survey or something, like you're asking parents to reply and say, hey, we need volunteers for this event we're doing. And once you get your 20 volunteers or something, you can the thing automatically shuts down. So you don't get a bunch of extra responses you have to sort through. You can actually connect it to like a cell value in a spreadsheet, or you can set a date and time. Like if this is kind of a quiz type thing, this is when this might be useful. And so you pick a specific date, like Friday, March 20th, specific time. We'll go maybe 3:00 p.m. and set that. And depending on when you make this quiz available to people, you can set potentially a window that students have to work within in order to complete it, depending on how strict that you want to get with that. That's up to you. And so I've got those sets. You can even have it email when submissions are closed, just to give you a reminder that this has happened. And I'll hit Save and Enable. Okay, so now there's a limit on the form, and I've got the couple of questions that I've made. Now, you have this send button, which normally you would use if you're making a link or you're wanting to email this to people. So that's great when you're wanting to contact parents. In this case, when I'm just wanting to get it to my students in Google Classroom, I don't have to actually push the send button. I can go ahead and close out this tab where I'm editing the form, and then I'll be back here on the assignment in Google Classroom, and I can go ahead and assign it. One quick option is you can actually hit the arrow and you could assign it, which means it's available right now, or you could schedule it, which means it becomes available to students at a particular date and time. It's up to you how you want to do that. One thing to note, once you hit the assign button, now that kind of takes care of how you distribute it, because now it's going to show up as an assignment for your students in Google Classroom. And when they click on it, it'll actually show up here as the quiz, and when they click the quiz, you'll see it even does it right now. It goes right into the answer mode. So now instead of being able to edit it, the kids will just have to answer all the questions in the quiz. So they can still mark who's their favorite teacher. And then for show your work, we're going to click the add file button. And notice that as I look through my drive here, I'll roll down past my folders, I'm only seeing photos or Google Drawings as options for things that they can choose and upload, because I set it to just those specific file types. So if they clicked on one of the mini screenshots I take and hit select, that is a thing that they have submitted, and they can go ahead and hit the submit button, and that will let them turn it in, and then you can check out the work that they have. So hopefully all of that is useful to you. I'm going to make a separate video that just shows what the student view of this looks like, that I'll share with families, so that students can kind of just see how to do that little thing that I just did of picking out the file that they made. So there you are.